Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Zherquarian. Today we'll be looking at Ubisoft's record-breaking beta for Tom Clancy's The Division. 6.4 million people reportedly played it. I was one of them, and I'm here to let you know my thoughts on how the game is going to stack up, and whether the game deserves the Tom Clancy moniker. Let's answer the big question everyone is going to have right off the bat. Is this game a Destiny killer? The short answer is no. Where Destiny is a first-person run-and-gun sci-fi shooter, The Division is a third-person cover-based shooter. Where Destiny has segmented missions that require you to load a new part of the game whenever you go somewhere, The Division loads its game world once and you're free to explore. Where Destiny's gameplay and weapon mechanics are the main staying point for a lot of players, The Division's very vanilla gameplay might be the reason a lot of people abandon the game after they finish the story. Why? Well, moment-to-moment gameplay in The Division is spotty at best. Weapon sounds lack variety and overall sound muted and weak. The same can be said for the impact those guns provide. Empty an entire clip into a bad guy right in front of you, and the only visible damage you'll see is the counter ticking away above his head. Why is the bad guy standing right in front of you? Because enemy AI is terrible. So many times I saw them get up from behind perfectly good cover to blindly traverse an entire battlefield just so I could riddle them with bullets. A thinking man's game, this is not. It's not all bad for The Division though. From a graphical standpoint, this game can be impressive. The art direction and atmosphere are spot on, and little touches like burned out police cars along the road and rows of body bags really help to sell the idea of this apocalyptic virus that is in the process of wiping out mankind. The weather system in particular is great, and during the 8 or so hours I spent with the game I saw everything from a clear sunrise to gently falling snow at night to whiteout conditions when a blizzard rolled in. One comparison you can link to Destiny is the 3 skill trees your character has. Tech, medical, and security abilities are all available, and you can have any 2 you've unlocked mapped to L1 and R1, or your platform equivalent. These 3 skill trees correspond to 3 wings in your base of operations, which is sort of your home that you're rebuilding as you try to get the situation in New York under control. Every time you complete a story mission, the wing it corresponds to gets stronger, and your base gets visual updates, like running generators, and a quarantine unit. The game appears to have 10 missions per wing, which would seem to bring the total story mission count to 30. With each of these missions taking 15 minutes to a half hour to complete, The Division looks like it's going to be pretty meaty. Delicious meaty. One of my other big concerns is how much you'll be able to do outside the main missions. The game does have side missions, of which there was only 1 in the beta. However, it had very little action in it, with only a small firefight happening near the end. The rest consisted of tracking down Echoes, one of the game's collectibles that manifest in a weird 3D crime scene a la Arkham City. It makes sense for Batman's computer to recreate a scene from the past via hard evidence and surveillance video, less so when my human agent guy does it based on Wi-Fi data with a fancy watch. Thematically, the things just don't make sense. Besides side missions, there are what the game calls encounters, incredibly short firefights that usually reward you with middling guns or crafting materials. The content of the encounters are variations on kill all the enemies or defend your NPC buddy. They seem to be placed sporadically, which is a shame since I think they would work much better as random events in the world. When you're just wandering around New York City, there is very little to do, and groups of enemies are few and far between. But I guess the meat of how people will spend their time outside story missions will be the Dark Zone, which does have a much higher enemy density. As a mostly solo player, I can say with confidence that I was scared shitless to go in by myself after hearing horror stories of squads of other players that were just griefing people. Imagine my relief when I only encountered one dickhead who was camping just outside the spawn area and killing people on the way in. Almost immediately, myself and 2 other players he'd been doing it to teamed up and hunted him down like a dog. I can only hope the community will be that cool when the game gets out in the wild, but as it is, that was a really awesome emergent gameplay experience that I was not expecting. Besides all that, there are some little nitpicky things I want to bitch about. There is some terrible texture pop-in present here. I've gotten right up on walls and windows and waited 5 or 6 seconds for the texture load to catch up. On top of that, knocking things off shelves in various buildings around town cause their physics to freak out, sometimes shoving themselves through walls or falling through the floor of the entire game. Yeah, that was a beta, but as of the time of the beta, the game was 2 weeks to launch. There's a possibility that this was an older build of the game, but I would bet money that a lot of these problems are going to be in the final build. It may seem like I'm really down on this game, and I'm not. I had a lot of fun with the Division beta during the time I spent with it. and I'm convinced that if you like the MMO first-person shooter style that Destiny introduced, you'll get your money's worth out of it. But if you're looking for the next great Tom Clancy game, this isn't it. The slow, tactical approach with bursts of action that name has come to represent is nowhere to be found here. That being said, I'm still excited to get my hands on it, and you should be too. As always, thank you for watching the Zherquarian, and stay tuned.